talk direct in Lead Digest. Lead Digest has some special interest in women who have been successful in choosing off-beaten paths and have succeeded in making their mark in the society in a socially responsible manner. So we have with us today Swapna Namboodiri. She is a software engineer who has worked in the IT industry for a long period. So Swapna, what are you doing these days?
Hello, Jazeela. Actually, since the past 6 years, I have switched a career, and right now I'm a full-time independent artist and an environmental artist and a sculptor.
That's interesting. So with that note, let me give a detailed introduction to our viewers for Swapna Namboodiri. So as she mentioned, she is an engineer turned self-styled artist and sculptor who has made her presence in the intensely competitive international world of art in a very short time with her unique creations. She served the IT industry for 6 years. Later, motherhood beckoned her into home-based creative forms of art that help her spend more time with her kids. And of course, she has done several art exhibitions, including solo exhibitions. She has participated in international art fairs, got special mentions from experts and the media alike in the international as well as local media. She is a resident of Qatar right now. So Swapna, you practically had no professional training in art, except that you were deeply interested in painting and had the yearning to take your hobby to the next level post-marriage. So let's not say, like we are most of the time attuned to, when we have to choose between home and job once we have kids, we are left with no choice. But hardly 6 years into your career, you took a firm decision to quit everything, quit your job, and start afresh in the field of art, completely different field. It needs tremendous courage and confidence. So please take us through your journey into the art world. Particularly, I would like to know how hard has been your decision to quit the job and enter a new field, and how you kept going yourself.
That's a wonderful introduction. Thank you so much, Jazeela. And to start with my journey, actually, when you asked about the decision making, I think the decision making just that period was difficult, only to step down from the software field. But I think I had emotion-wise, I had mixed feelings because being an inborn talent or something creative inside, I was not at all enjoying what I was doing there in the software field. So maybe that's why once we decided to step down from the software field, and after that resignation paper was given, I felt like some sort of burden was taken out from my shoulders. So frankly, that was the feeling. But on the other side, it was a tough decision because we are having a stable income, we are having that software engineer, that tagline, and everything was safe on that side. So when I resigned from Infosys, my daughter was 1 year old. So we thought in a couple of years maximum, she would join a nursery and I will be safe to go back to another firm maybe. And also I was working as a developer in SAP ABAP. So at that time, it was really in high demand, and we were sure that I will get into another job. So that was a plan. But everything changed all of a sudden after the resignation, because I started spending more time, and that too with whole heart and dedication. I started spending time with paints and brushes. And that's when I realized what really, what is really in me and what I want to do. Those things and those thoughts changed me during that period. And also, the decision to take art as a career, I think that decision was not made because the transition was gradual. When I started painting, or when I started spending more time to develop my skill or to polish my skills, I also thought, because till then I was earning and I didn't want to stop that income, or I didn't want to sit idle at home, or since even as a hobby, painting is kind of an expensive hobby. We need money at least to buy our materials. So I was sure I didn't want to sit, paint, and just keep it inside my studio. So that itself was there in my initial thoughts. But somehow I think the technology was a real blessing for me. Now the online medias and online platforms, social media, everything helped me to gain knowledge as well as showcase my skills in the initial days.
So I just have a question here. Were you trying to explore yourself in finding, your area in art? Often it is emphasized that if you are in the field of art, you have to find your own style, or you have to stand apart.
Absolutely. As I told, in this creative or art field in particular, we need a signature style to survive. So I didn't know that. I was totally unaware in the initial days, but definitely a lot of practice was there. Uh, Earlier, I was even scared to showcase my work because I was not professionally trained. So I would just practice at home. And then came the role of social media. So social media, I was at least confident enough to start a social media page. At that time, it was Facebook page, and I would just randomly click pictures and share it on Facebook pages. Uh, but the learning was there happening parallelly, and I came to know about lots of Facebook groups which were mainly intended for creative groups and art exhibitions and all the like-minded people in one community. So that time we were in Bangalore, and we had a couple of like Bangalore art lovers or Bangalore craft lovers, few groups like that, which I could also be part of. And there were a lot of creative people there sharing so many informations and appreciating each other. So those platforms gave good community confidence boost for me, and it was really like a community. Even then, I was not sure that art could be taken as a career, because whenever I spoke to uh, so-called acclaimed or elderly artists, I never got that positive response that okay, you can take it as a career. I never got that response. Sadly, they were all like I got a couple of response saying artists could only sit and paint, but they cannot market their work, or they cannot search for other avenues, or it's not even a medium to generate revenue. So those were my initial response from other artists. So I was not sure at that point of time, but online mediums gave all the knowledge.
Yeah. So your network, people in the network, was really discouraging you in continuing, or just to take it as a hobby, just as a hobby, not as a main profession. So there was a
Yes.
turning point in your in your artist journey, so how did it happen? I mean, you turned into using reusable plastics and such material into your creation. So that was a big turning point in your art, because that is a point where you identified yourself with your way of expression. So
Yes.
tell us about that.
So that happened 6 years back, I would say, when we came to, but in 2014, we relocated to Qatar. So at that time, my main focus, or I was painting on plexiglass or glass. Plexiglass also looked like glass. So I used to paint a lot on that. And that was my major medium to work with. I would explore a lot, and I would not go with the traditional glass painting technique. I would uh, that style was also different for me, because I haven't gone for any training for even glass painting. So I would experiment a lot, and I think people kind of like that technique also, because there was it was not predictable. All the works were different, and when I came here in Qatar, it was something new for the audience here. I used to make artworks inspired by the landscapes and buildings and architecture here in Qatar. And that got a really good appreciation from the initial days, starting from 2014. And then I explored about Instagram, from my artistic group here. And even I attended, we have a good community called Qatar, where we do alternate Friday markets here in Qatar, a cultural village. So that was a good way to, I got a great exposure from those markets, not just from the artistic community, but from the audience as well. And then I came to know about the online galleries, because when we are not trained as an artist, we have all the self doubts and inhibitions which are stopping us from going and facing a real physical gallery. So I was not confident enough to go and approach a gallery with my artworks. But when I came to know about online galleries, I just registered in a couple of really good galleries, that is Sachi Art and Art Finder, and I would explore every day. Even though I uploaded a couple of works in the initial days, which now I'm not proud of, but I still uploaded whatever I had that time. And every day I would spend some time in learning from other artists. I would just browse, because that's such an advantage that we have in this generation, right? We don't have to wait and go to a gallery and spend our time in that physical gallery to learn from them. It's in front of us. So what I came across, what I saw and learned from most of the well-doing artists were, they all had some story to tell. They all had some connection with themselves, all the artworks. And they all had done, the artworks were in a collection, and it were all cohesive, and it's all unique. So the learning happened from there. And then when I practice every day, what I came to know was, I like vibrant colors and I like heavy textures to be included in my works. And I experimented a lot to bring this heavy texture. And that's when I thought of using, because I had explored these discarded plastics earlier as well. When I was in Bangalore, I used to try and create few wearable art like jewelries or bookmarks, small craft things using bottles. But I was demotivated when I exhibited few of the works, I think during some flea markets, because people would be really excited to see the product, and when they come near to that and when they know that it's a plastic waste, they would just walk away. So at that time I didn't know the importance of my work, and I also was not confident about what I had created. So I had put a pause on that. So I thought, when I started getting this interest to create heavy textures, I thought, let me go back to that medium and create some artwork out of it.
So you got some recognition from international art exhibition. You were invited for the Tokyo Fair and Amsterdam Fair. Can you tell us more about that? How did you? And also, you some experts in this field had used your creations as an example for the art students to follow or to learn things from that. So can you tell us more about that?
Sure, sure. The earliest, when I just mentioned about the inhibitions and insecurities inside me. So the turning point was when one of the online galleries had listed my work as best of I think 2018 March. That time I thought, like, okay, it's a huge platform where there are lots of art collectors and artists in that platform. And one of my work got the recognition from that gallery. It was such a big kind of accomplishment for me. And that was the initial thought of applying, or for that gave me the confidence to apply for the Tokyo International Art Fair, and I got invited. It was in 2018 August, I think. So I could exhibit 20 of my sculptural artworks, and it was all the theme was underwater or marine life. And there also I got good appreciation, and even I could sell the artworks to the collectors there in Japan. And the experience was, I cannot explain that in words, because being a self-taught artist, a few years back, I would have never imagined myself doing artworks out of this plastic material and exhibiting that. It was not even in my wildest dreams. So it was really a surreal moment for me standing there in that Tokyo exhibition. I think that motivated me. And as I told earlier, I was sure that I didn't have to just keep my paintings for myself. Of course, all the creations will have the emotional connection, and we'll feel that pain when we send it to someone. But on the other side, it's a huge happiness for us as an artist, or it's a recognition for us to send the artworks to somebody else who's liking it or who's willing to invest in you.
So, at any point, did you feel that not having a professional training has limited your, growth potential or entry into, say, for instance, the artist world is more established and more accepted as a profession in the Western world, say in European countries or American, and those American artists or European artists, they are more successful than us because they also know how to be successful successful commercially. And also there are more art lovers and more art exhibitions, galleries, online galleries, all those are based in this in those countries. So uh, how can you reach them? I mean, did you face any challenge?
Now when I look back, I think the struggle was just inside me. All the self doubts were inside me. So the answer would be the with a lack of formal training. Was that a problem? Would be a yes and no, because the problem was inside me. I had lots of doubts, and as you said earlier, I had the doubts like, uh, am I am I a real artist? Because since we don't have the formal training, I will be stopping myself from uh, calling myself an artist. So that was the initial struggles. But when I started, we get the motivation to call ourselves or to identify ourselves as an artist when we start selling the artworks. I would strongly believe, I still believe in that. We do the artwork and create, and we see and enjoy, or maybe our friends and family see and we get appreciation, that's fine. But somebody else on the other side of the world is willing to connect with your story is something else. That is kind of a real good motivation for us as an artist. So connecting to these audience, to the right audience, and connecting to the people who are willing to know more about your works and your process. All these happen through the online mediums, online galleries. And these collectors never checked about a degree or from where you are trained. They were just checking about your artworks or
Creation,
the
yeah, definitely.
your work. But definitely when you are a trained artist, or when you're coming out of a real fine arts school, you will be already having the network. You are in that network. So you'll be directly going to a gallery or a physical gallery, or you'll be part of that community. So that part is definitely missing. And if I still want to approach a physical gallery or approach art show, I'll have to do a lot of research work, and I have to gather all the informations on my own. But that is some sort of a blessing on the other side, because we are learning everything from scratch.
In fact, online marketing of artwork is a boon these days, because otherwise, artists from Asian countries, African countries, they cannot reach a global audience because the real market is in these countries. And in seeking recognition also, this has been a boon. So can you tell us some of your experience with online marketing of your creations and paintings?
uh, as you said, yes, online galleries and the social media platforms play a real good role in, at least in the initial days of your career, of your art career. Facebook page was a real good platform. But then later Instagram came, and it's a really visual treat for artists, and it's literally like a website where you can post the works, and people uh, get to see that, and it's open. Instagram was a good platform for me to reach out to many other artists and to see their work. Then coming to online galleries, what I understood, like people, if we can divide into different categories, there will be people who would be willing to directly communicate with the customers. If you have a good following, or if you are really accomplished yourself as an artist, people might search for your name, or people might look for your original artworks. In that case, definitely one-to-one connection is good, because there is no third party involvement, there is no commission going anywhere. So there are artists that I see on Instagram, they just post their artwork and people are there to bid amount for their works. But for me, I still consider that I'm learning, and in that learning experience, I want some platform where they already have a audience base. Like when we come to Sachi Art and Art Finder and Singular Art, they all have their own audience. So we are just marketing our works, or we are just showcasing our works through them. It's just like a physical gallery. So what happens is they will be taking some percentage of commission from our work. So it's on us to decide the amount, or the price of our work. So what I would definitely suggest to people who are willing to have a sustainable art career is to invest on, or we should work for multiple revenue platforms, or multiple revenue should be there in order to sustain this career. Because just focusing on one gallery, or just focusing on one income stream cannot be cannot go, it will get harder on a long run. So what can I suggest is, once you focus on developing a style on your own, and create a good bunch of cohesive artworks, you can upload, or you can approach multiple galleries. And also, if you're not creating that many original works, like people, there might be people who will dedicate days and months in creating one big artwork, or there might be people who would create every day but in a miniatures, like miniature artworks. So all these art, once you start practicing, or once you start exploring these things, you will learn what is your liking and what are your strong points. If someone is making a bigger size or larger size artworks, they cannot expect that to sell every month or every week, right? So what they can do is they can reproduce, like they can there are platforms selling prints as well. So
Prince
it
on
will
demand.
be, yeah, it will be like a passive income. Even if I'm not painting, I will be getting a
Keep
passive
getting
income.
money. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. And also people willing to teach artwork, and for that also there are online platforms like Skillshare, Udemy, and people who has the creative instincts and they are ready to share their knowledge can create videos and upload on these platforms, where you can teach the students, and you will be getting paid just like a normal job. Every month you will be getting paid. Then there are options to create or collaborate with brands, where they will be taking your prints, like as we see in home center and all. It will be like a reproduction. You will be getting a percentage of the work that they will be selling. So there are lots of other options, but we need to explore and find out things, what works for you and what works not. For me also, I have a YouTube channel, and I train, I have Skillshare things. All these started for, I wanted to explore everything. But and that's also a learning experience. When I started YouTube channel, I started long back, I think 2 or 3 years back. Now I know that what works for me and what doesn't.
You have to know all aspects of creating art, publicizing it, selling it, and then continue to make money just the way you said, making some passive income for your lean days and all that. And also I see a recent trend that the artists need to be familiar with the digital tools available, like they also need to know how to photograph the art, how to make videos, and how to do image adjustments in Photoshop and all those things. So
I do all these on my own. So it is like from day one, I keep learning. I would definitely, actually, I heard it from another artist that 30% of our work will be gone creating, and the rest 70% is like all the other jobs.
Right, right, right.
So once it's done, we need to photograph it, edit the photographs, upload it on these sites, and you need to have a good story to be written for all these artworks. And for each of the for artworks need to be shot in different angles, and if possible a short video, so that the buyer or the collector clearly knows what he what he can expect. So all these need to be done. And once the order is there, you need to pack it, ship it safely. So it's
shipping. Physical shipping is another a day's job. Not only that, I recently tried this online marketing. Even posting one product of yours, one creation of yours, it involves days of work in photographing, editing, and getting into the final form, filling the descriptions, creating the story. Now, are you experimenting with any new type of texture, and what is important texture? Because in the olden days, it was oil painting. People used to do oil paintings and simple watercolor paintings. So these days, later on, if you see the trend in watercolor painting, for example, you see that there are a lot of paints available, techniques available, papers are available, and people are very boldly trying, they're challenging the traditional methods and all that. So another thing that has come as a new trend is trying different textures. How important is using textures in painting, apart from this traditional school, methods like oil, watercolor, acrylic, or whatever? In acrylic itself, we are using a lot of textures. So how important is the use of textures, and how people ask for textured paintings?
For my style of work, definitely I work with heavy textures. So I have replaced the conventional texture making materials into plastics. But I've seen, yes, as you said, in watercolors and maybe in many oil paintings, we cannot expect that sort of texture. So it solely depends on your style of creating artwork. But over a period of time, recently what I've noticed is people have started giving more importance in the process of creating. Even the audiences, if they are enjoying the process, or as we can see, the expressive abstract expressionism, even though we cannot connect with that, there will be some sort of deep lying emotions getting there in those artworks. So people are looking for what is unique in your style of work. Adding textures in various kinds of artworks, it solely depends on your particular style of artwork. That's what I believe. Because for me, I cannot imagine right now creating artworks without texture. But there will be people working with basic acrylics or even watercolors. uh, they might not add texture, but there will be underlying layers, and the whole style of work will be different, right? So it solely depends on your style of work and what you're trying to portray through your work. And right now, a trend that I've noticed is people, or even the art collectors, are trying to focus on the artistic process, rather than the end result. There is a lot of importance being given on the process that the artists have gone through. Even for the videos, there are lots of, right now on Instagram there are reels, and there is TikTok, where you get to see brilliant artists. In a span of 10 seconds, they will be narrating a whole story of the process that has gone through. So if someone is creating texture with a paper or with a rock, with glass, you will be mesmerized to see, oh my God, that much technique is gone through in that 10-second video. So that might be a pushing point, or that might be the trigger for someone sitting and seeing on the other side to go and collect that piece. So even though we cannot physically touch the texture or feel that, these visual, by making use of such brilliant visual mediums, I think most of that gap can be filled.
Now, coming down to the materials, that is the
Yes.
most difficult part of pursuing art these days. The materials, the paint, canvases, papers are all very expensive, and
Yes.
only when we try to do something, we know that the material you are using, the quality of the materials, the paint and paper, canvas, whatever you're using, the quality of the material makes a big difference in the final appearance of the. So as you mentioned in the beginning that it is an expensive art, do people
Yes.
still think that it is an expensive art, and when you start with, you need enough financial resources so that you can pursue it the way you want it? So what is your experience with materials, purchasing
I
materials?
started investing on expensive art materials on the go. Like earlier, when I started, I didn't explore much of paints. I started with whatever I had, but then later on, when I started investing on good quality paints, then I came to know about the difference that it can really create on the end result. And but that cannot be an excuse also. Initially when we are practicing, where there will be a lot of unsuccessful artworks as well, right? But so initially we cannot we don't have to invest in that much. Also, there is a huge difference in, if you consider the paint and brushes, there is a huge difference in the pigments and the paint bristles. It all makes an impact. So
What is the importance of having a physical space? For instance, your creations are all sculpture work, and
yes.
do you need a lot of storage space for all these things? And do you have a studio space or something like that? Because most of the time, accomplished artists, we see them inside their studios with all
Yes.
setup. So, what kind of setup you have? How have you managed your space to store all these?
That's a good question. I don't have a studio, but I have dedicated one whole bedroom for myself, and I call it as my studio.
Your studio.
So, yes. For example, for me, the materials itself occupies a lot of space. So I cannot afford to keep creating a big, maybe 4 feet or 5 feet artworks, even 1 meter artworks, if it doesn't sell or if it is staying with me even after exhibitions. I cannot afford to keep piling that up in my studio, right? So I need to create artworks keeping all these constraints in my mind.
So, do you
So
see more and more women entering into the world of art? Maybe after the kids have grown to some school age or something like that, and maybe after 30s, in their 40s, they're coming to the art world and making it big.
earlier we didn't have that much opportunities even to explore our hidden talents, I feel. Now, because of all this media, I think women have a natural instincts for the creative side, I think. And now even they have the confidence to somehow pursue their passion, even after marriage and after having kids. And if if they can dedicate their time and spend some time in following their interest, I think there will be more and more artists or creative people around. And also, once they get to know that they can treat that as a career, or they can develop that as a career, there will definitely be lots of artists.
So I wish Swapna the very best in your future career. Thank you so much for spending time with Lead Digest and sharing your experiences in the art world. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure sharing all this, and I too really wish all the best for Lead and for your artistic journey as well.
Thank you.
I see
Thanks.
beautiful artworks, watercolor artworks from you, and it has got real good, meaning to it. So I really wish you all the best.
Thank you. Thank you.